Okay, hola, welcome to new lesson. Today we have to start a new subject, not a subject, a new topic. Group conflict negotiation. Now, think out of OB this example, out of OB a subject. Then the conflict. What are the conflict? You know that what is the meaning of conflicts? Various definitions and various theories, concepts, But think of it in your organ mind. You try to take your organ idea. What is the meaning of conflict? In a rainy day, you can face. You had experience of the thunder shower. It has a thunder. Then you know that positive and negative, that the two side face to face combine with or the connect with together. After that, it has a sparking with sound. It's called the thunder. Now, think, imagine yourself. The conflicts also in a same way. One side positive, other side negative. Think now the theme, one theme. Think, uh, today, the X country, government, all rule and regulation correct. Another part, we call no. So not 100% not. Then what happened? It has a conflict. Positive or negative. 75. Okay. 25. No. Then think of it. Same situation in organization. How it's going on? You can understand? Now, your manager, you are in the CEO seat. Your chairman decide, I am now ready to reduce some officers every department. That means ready to give the resignation letters. Then you are the CEO. Okay, you are the CEO. They have then the officers and CEO and chairman. 3 groups. Now you are in a CEO position. You have to respect your and obey your chairman, as well as you have to protect your officers. Then you are struggling, you are in the conflict situation. Now, in this type of situation, this type of the incident, how we solve, how we clear this problem, how we win this conflict. Because my mind has something, because I explained it. Because I think we won, how we won. It's wrong. Then the traditional concept, that various traditional concept we are using for clear these concepts or the conflicts. And another many theories, concepts using to. clear, solve this concept. Now, again, I give another example. Now, you have a wife or girlfriend. That means belong to you. Whatever situation, I'm not to criticize that. But in social media, you have another foreign girl. Sometimes in your environment, your office environment, you and your fiancé, your girlfriend meeting position, meeting place, have another situation, and with your wife. Is it a conflict or not? Because that girl, foreign girl in another country, you and your wife and your girlfriend with you in the same place, same, that been close to you. Is it a conflict? Can you believe is it a conflict or not? Yeah, you can say yes. You can say no. No, it's not a big reason, big trouble, big problem to my wife or my girlfriend because that lady in a far away, that my man or my boyfriend send various SMS, but I know it's nothing to do. But when you are imaging yourself, it has some mind conflict. Think of it. Have it that type of thing. That's I told you that thing. It's a belong to you. The land belongs to that a song. Land belongs to me. But you know that how many peoples are now the lease, and I'm not doing. I'm not saying that. Okay. Then it was another bit of conflict situation. Now, shall we move our second slide and try to understand, define, differentiate various view of conflict. Okay. Now you can write down easily this the group conflict negotiation, define conflict, and differentiate of various views of conflict. This is our syllabus, LPEC syllabus topic. Then I like to move with you to the second slide. You know that I'm using that artificial voice or the narration. Today I less uh, that mean I'm trying to talk with more. I'm not using more slides today. But anyway, you have a 34 slides. I think you can see that. You have a chance to that amount here. Anyway, I move to the next slide. Before that, I give you a chance to the listen my that aerobic robotic narration. It's artificial. We calling that various. I think every day have this type of things. You know that. Yeah. 1 second, I try to do it again. When sorry, I have to sharing again. Oh my goodness. No, no, no. I have to wait. Give me a few seconds for me because thing is more different. So you are recording this meeting. Okay. And then okay. Here 1 second. Right. Sorry for your time, but unfortunately, My slide is not here. That's the main thing. Anyway, I try to move that. 1 second. Here. Things are there. What to do? Oh my God. Anyway, okay, now you can listen.
Group conflicts and negotiation. Define conflicts and differentiate the various views of conflicts. Traditional view, human relations view, interactionist view of conflict. Organizational conflict is the discord that arises when the goals, interests, or values of different individuals or groups are incompatible and those individuals or groups block or thwart one another's attempts to achieve their objective. Conflicts can occur because of the task, relationship, or process-related issues between personnel. Conflicts at the organization were perceived or viewed as only a negative object.
1 second. I give you a chance to listen again this two topic here. Before that, I bit of explain. Already I told you this organization conflict. That first I told you that a thunder shower. After that, organization, CEO, manager, and officers, girlfriend or wife, and a foreigner. Now, the organizational conflict. Then, I'm going not try to explain this verbal sentence. I try to give the correct idea about what is the organizational conflict. Now, you can understand the group, individual, incompatible, and a group block. Another attempt, achieve the object. Just I read these words only. Think one object in a organization. The individual, that means I told you the DGs or the chairman, ready to reduce the labor amount. That means officers. Oh, that labor mean you know that earlier we discussed the person who not in a shares in that company organization, that person we can call a labor, the officer, the worker. The person who have some share in that organization is a sub-owner, sometimes shareholder. Right, now I move again with this program. Program mean lesson. Then, now I told you the situation. Now object is like that. Reason is this current situation. Current situation mean the economic crisis like that. Then sometimes one officer have a big affect this decision. Sometimes some group has to face the big trouble. You know that any officer or any labor, when you have the special resignation or the retirement, they have some small or some bulk benefit. 10 years salary or till the retirement half salary, like that. But the person by person, that means the individual, every person's know or they not face or no, they have the different problems. You know that our five fingers are not same. The people is also same and people problems also same. Then how you clear its conflict and object. Now this is a main thing is the one decision that we call when we take some medicine, it has a side effect, but it is a depend on patient. This also like because sometimes this situation like we are stop OT pay. OT pay means overtime payments. Then a minor staff has to face this situation. Now, I like to move the second topic. Conflicts can occur because of the task, relationship, or process-related issue between personnel. Earlier, I tried to explain. Now you got the idea. Now I promise you, I give you time to write down. Again, I give you time to listen and write down. If you need to a bit of a sound slow, I try to it's a -3, -4. Okay, right. Check that.
Traditional view, human relations view, interactionist view of conflict. Organizational conflict is the discord that arises when the goals, interests, or values of different individuals or groups are incompatible and those individuals or groups block or thwart one another's attempts to achieve their objective. Conflicts can occur because of the task, relationship, or process-related issues between personnel. Conflicts at the organization were perceived or viewed as only a negative object. But through the development of organizational behavior studies, conflict is now viewed differently and organizations now learned how to manage them.
All right. Now we are studying organizational behavior. It's our subject. Now that word is organization and now learn how to manage them. Now I ask you the one question, my dear student, from everyone. But in a physical class, I can command you, not like a command. I can ask. What is your decision? You are the CEO seat. You are the CEO position. You are the CEO post. Then tell me, what is your decision? Now, your chairman, you got an idea, he's got a decision. I must stop OT, overtime payments. You are the person who controlling all officers doing minus job. How you manage? You are now already have a 75 marks for the organization behavior subjects. I think you have a decision. You have an idea. You can manage how to solve this problem. Imagine yourself. I gave you that earlier we discussed a win-win concept. But the thing is, this a win-win concept is a not a belong to the one person. Anyway, you have to take a good decision, and you have to manage this conflict as well as this situation. We are calling we are human. When we take a decision, we have to think twice. The chairman or the DG is not to think about others thing, because he or she has to protect, and he has to think the beyond me, the future things. Sometimes think that a semi-government institute that have some government have some power to control their salaries and duties, they will send some letter. You have to take the various point out some decisions. Then that chairman has to respect about it. Then he don't have a time. He don't know any chance to think about the minor stuff. Sometimes within 2 or 3 months, that the civil government institute will combine with another collaborative university or the collaborative institute. Then have the new look. That means that the new page turn over or whatever. New page start. But thing is, you are the CEO, you can't spend time, because your officers, that minor staff, waiting your decision. Whatever new page turn, they want to live today. They want to spend their day-to-day life without any trouble, without any harm, without any problem. They have kids, that family, they have to protect them. They have to feed them. You know that they are spending all day time in an office. They don't have any another jobs to earn money. Then what's going on? You have to take a decision. When you have to think about more deeply the rule and regulation in your institute, check that what type of space, what type of time, how can I solve this problem? The balance, but like a balanced mind, that means balance side. Both side is balance. Now, you have a chance. Now you know that only the stopped OT, overtime payments. When the officers work in a overtime period, overtime mean the after office hours, if the one person who like to spend or they like to work more hours, late hours, at that time you can put this minor staff to help him. But thing is, you have to respect rule and regulation your institute. Your officer must protect, and he has to report to you this minor staff officer done this work. Then I'm doing a special work in after office hours. Then I recommend this person, this is officer's word, over that academic officers, just you think. I recommend this person can take overtime or the additional payment because that minor staff officer or the person helped me to do this work or done this work. That mean a creative things because I explained that the done and do then mean you are the person who create that now this manage you are now try to manage this situation. Then you know now that that overtime payments already closed. Closed mean that voucher is closed, that ledger also closed. Now, now you are trying to pay additional payment to minor staff because that academic officer recommend that person he done some work or he ready to do some work, and I recommend this amount per hour we can pay for this one. But you have to measure. Earlier I told you and you studied that one, how you have to monitor, you have to filter, and you have to evaluate your organization officers' behavior and their day-to-day routine. Because when you want to give some promotion, you have to measure that. I remember that earlier we discussed that 5 things. Okay, you keep it in mind. Then, now I want to say, now you know that 150 minus staff, you try to give some special additional payment, the 2 or 3 labors or the minus staff. How can you believe that? How we sure that? How we prove that? Now I told you you have to identify correct person. Select correct person. I told you how. Now you have a question. How I collect? How I select? Now you are the manager. You are the CEO. You have experience. You must have experience to evaluate who need this type of a special payment to spend their day-to-day life. That is the organization behavior. You have to identify, you have to monitor that your organizational officers to grassroots, to the top level, all officers, all workers' behavior. I think the motivations and things you want to who are the CEOs and CEOs, we discussed that. Now, you ready to solve this conflict. But there is a conflict over the role of a conflict in a group and organization. Now, you have to face another problem, the conflict, the group. Why? Now you are ready to solve this problem only individual conflict, individual person problem. When you have a group conflict, group role conflict over the individual thing, how you manage? Again, I give you a chance to listen and write down your miswords and miss a sentence. This third presentation slide. After that, I like to move the fourth slide, and we can discuss more about conflict. But thing is, you have to keep in your mind, I told you earlier, and every day I like to tell and I like to memorize, this all concept, this all theories, when you are using your day-to-day life, or try to use these theories and concept, not only your organization, your day-to-day life, you can automatically, you can study this, the all that means memorize without reading or without following this lesson. First, you take out the idea about these concepts and theories and definitions. After that, you have to use sometimes that not only the practically, you can think you have some problem, then you are trying to solve in your mind. You are not trying to give the another person to when you are use this method, you can solve this question, your problem or conflict. But you are not to suit for tell them, but you have to in your mind, in your day-to-day life, bus stands or the office or the boutique or whatever shop or whatever place, when you have when you can see this situation incidents, you can give the options, the alternative ideas, but don't try to say in your mind you can solve this one. And practically in our organization behavior, I got the point. How when I use this point to this situation, this incident, this conflict, it will be clear. That's the thing. You are that's the new methods to the learning and teaching process methods. You are not trying to teach them. You are not trying to explain them, but you are live your day-to-day life. You are spending your time in your day-to-day life. It's the common thing. And your mind, your knowledge, engage with always with you. You apply this your knowledge or concept that day-to-day situation. Sometimes that incident, conflict, problems not belong to you. It's outside of you, but you can give these options, topics, that theories, apply these theories, and yeah, how this the mad person, any word you can like use that. Why this person not use this solving method concept? When I am in this situation, I use this organization behavior, this concept to solve that problem. That is the study method, teaching and a learning method. My dear student, first I give you a chance to listen here, then I move next one.
Conflicts at the organization were perceived or viewed as only a negative object. But through the development of organizational behavior studies, conflict is now viewed differently and organizations now learned how to manage them. But there is conflict over the role of conflict in groups and organizations. Changing views of organizational conflict.
Okay,
Attitude towards the conflict.
1 second, my student. This is the method. Method mean concept. Changing views of organizational concept. I within one word, using one word, I give you some example. After that, I give you a chance to listen to this. When you are see some incident, think your natural life. When you have a chance, when you can use spectacles or the sunglass, your view automatically change. Keep it in your mind. Then you listen this slides. Then you can understand. I think this slide and next slides are together. But anyway, I ready to give to listen this one. This is like introduction to the whole the earlier one. I remember the traditional and other things. Anyway, first you listen and write down. I give you the time, enough time to write down. But have any difficult pronunciation point or whatever. But it decrease the speed. I think whatever robotic narration you can understand what's the word and what's spell going on, what's the sound also you can understand without any doubt. Okay, listen, my dear students, and write down what you're over there.
Changing views of organizational conflict. Attitude towards the conflict in organizations has changed considerably in the last few decades. Once upon a time, conflict was considered fully harmful and must be avoided for the betterment of the organization. With the passes of the time, those views changed largely. Conflict is now an inevitable part of organizations. Its presence is positive in some aspects. Here explain the three different views on organizational conflicts. With continuous studies and researches in the field of organizational behavior and management, that thinking gradually changed. These views advocate the same concept that there are different types of conflicts and not all of them have to be bad and dysfunctional. Three views of conflict are: 1. The traditional view of organizational conflict. 2. Human relations view of organizational conflict. And the traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the trio.
Okay, I give you a chance to write down this two slides. Before that, I add something to your minds. Okay, I told you that specs and spectacles, how use without and view. Things that the second line earlier, some organization conflict, problem solving, very fully harm. So that means they are always think how I protect my organization. The earlier that once upon a time conflicts, that mean we know that we are ready to say some the old story. We use a once upon a time like that. I remember that some various functions, dramas. In a stage, I use this word once upon a time like that. Anyway, at that period, the earlier periods, they are not think the servant side. They're always ready to protect. Yeah, that the direct word is the always ready to protect the master's side. Master mean the owner, proper right, like that. Owner side. They never think about what happened for others, what happened for officers, what happened for laborers. That is conflict period. You know that we calling that in a Gamperelia, not a Gamperelia, Gamperelia novel. Martin Wickramasinghe has a three combination, the combined novels we are calling change. chain novels that we can call, that mean like the mega a teledrama like that, Gamperelia, Kali Yuga, and Uganda. It's like called this organization conflict as a feudal system moved to the another traditional, and the we are calling that in a labor and masters conflict. Earlier have some the we are calling that the villa people, and the caste and masters, we are calling villa and caste families background. After that, merchant and servant, and ultimately it has some republic. We are not a republic. Sociological, that means sociologist, that mean the concept. We are not calling the sociologist. That mean I'm not to try to move the more the political side. Just think about it: the feudal system, and the economical, and the Marx methods. That's enough. I'm not trying to move, put some the new things and concept of put in the novel and things, just to keep it your mind. Feudal system, and the the business world, and Marxist sociologist conflict concept. Keep it your mind. Then are you? I think you had an idea about a bit of idea. Some when you are in a English medium uh, student, I think you don't have a time to, you don't have any space to read this Sinhala novel. I can give you that sometimes you have a chance to read the funny boy, that R.K. Narayan, English teacher, and a various time. You can understand that the caste and people behavior. Sometimes you don't have that experience. Anyway, now I want to tell you this. Don't put in this everything in together. With sometimes it's a bit of you can't understand correctly. First, I told you that three novels. First one is a feudal. Second one is the economical background, that thing, and the final is a Marxist concept. That mean we are calling that. No, I'm not using that political themes. Then, at the first duration and second duration, have any conflict in organization, at that time their decision take only to protect the owner side. After that, after the present situation is a move to the positive thinking and positive move to the labor side. Labor mean the servant side. But these things are not try to explain in these three views. The first thing is traditional and human relations. But thing is, I try to give you idea the earlier day when have any organizational conflict, they always try to protect organization and family, because they can find many officers or many laborers or many servants after the any solving the case, after solving the case. Then in a I like to use this word in a European or the economical background culture. They always try to protect their profitable thing. When they have a profit from others, they always try to take a decision belong to them. when they have a conflict in organization, their first thing, first move, first view, and first chance goes to the profitable side. That means, think one labor raises a hand to against his master. He need salary, increase in salary. And another group need salary, and two groups. Then master or the owner ready to discuss them. Right. First group ready to increase their salary 25%. But the second group not clear, not respect that decision. Then what happened? The master ready to increase to 25%, and as well as he ready to give the resignation letters to 30% people. You can't you stop this strike? I don't want your work anymore. Because he want to solve this problem, he or she need the officers or servant or the labor, as well as he or she need to get the profit from them also. That is a thing. This is a practical life, the practical thing. You know that I think you had this experience in Indian films. You know that some union leader start some strike. Ultimately, that union leader salary increase the 50%, but the union other members salary increase not more than 25%. They know how to control union, and as well as they know how to handle the union leaders. This is a real situation. This is not in organization behavior. When you are in the CEO position, CEO position, or the manager director position, that managerial position, you have to use this concept. That word is a tactfully handle. That the leader, your controlling leader, I will increase your salary 50%. You have to argue or bargain with your members and tell them, I will increase 30% their salary. Now, the union leader settled the case. He has a 50% increase in salary. That members have a 25%. Problem, conflict solved. But thing is a profitable, manageable, any word you can use, considerably. Anyway, change the nice way. Okay, anyway, in a English language, we can use any words for that type of thing. Bargains or the catch the fish, correct bird in a correct place. Anyway, now you write down this uh, two slides. I give you a chance to the write down time. That means you can write down fourth and fifth one. After that, we discuss that main topic. Okay, let's.
The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest.
Sorry, this is another point. Yeah, this is the point.
Changing views of organizational conflict. Attitude towards the conflict in organizations has changed considerably in the last few decades. Once upon a time, conflict was considered fully harmful and must be avoided for the betterment of the organization. With the passes of the time, those views changed largely. Conflict is now an inevitable part of organizations. Its presence is positive in some aspects. Here explain the three different views on organizational conflicts. With continuous studies and researches in the field of organizational behavior and management, that thinking gradually changed. These views advocate the same concept that there are different types of conflicts and not all of them have to be bad and dysfunctional. Three views of conflict are: 1. The traditional view of organizational conflict. 2. Human relations view of organizational conflict. And the traditional view on organizational conflict is three views of conflict are: 1. The traditional view of organizational conflict. 2. Human relations view of organizational conflict. And the traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the three.
Now I stop it. Now you know what are the three view of conflict. The traditional view of organizational conflict. Second one, human relation view of organizational conflict. Interactions view of organizational conflict. Again, I give you a chance here.
Three views of conflict are: 1. The traditional view of organizational conflict. 2. Human relations view of organizational conflict. And the traditional view on organizational conflict.
Sorry, I give you a chance.
The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of.
This third one is not, I think, out of the slide. So that is a reason we are moved to the next slide. Anyway, now one by one, traditional view of organizational conflict. And the next one is like this one. One by one, we have to study, we have to learn, think. Now I give you the bit of time to think. What is the traditional view of organizational conflict? The earlier I discussed with you, this is the harmful, negative, and this is a that this traditional mean we are calling the the systematically methods, in a scientific decisions things. Okay, now we are ready to start new topic. What? The traditional view of organizational conflict. Traditional view of organizational conflict. But you keep it in mind because this theories, concept, engage with one by one each other. Okay. Now, I give you the 1 second. Not a 1 second, no, that 1 minute. Imagine yourself what what you learned today till now. Okay, before start our topic, I think you have to, and my idea is give you time to read this. Then while you are reading these slides, you have a bit of idea what is a traditional view of organization conflict. Earlier, we discussed another three topics. First one, I told you the one by one I am continue uh, these topics. Then first you listen, but already you know that because you are now the familiar uh, that organization behavior subject. Within few seconds, you can understand what is this concept. Okay, I give you time to listen this first.
The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the trio. It was first developed in the late 1930s and early 1940s, with the most linear and simple approach towards conflict. According to the traditional view, any conflict in an organization is outright bad, negative, and harmful. Although conflicts are of different types, the traditional view only sees conflict as dysfunctional and destructive. It suggests that organizational conflict must be avoided by identifying the malfunctioning callus. Moreover, the traditional view on organizational conflict identifies poor communication, disagreement, lack of openness and trust among individuals, and the failure of managers to be responsive to their employees' needs as the main causes and reasons of organizational conflict.
Before I move to the next one, I I try to give you the brief introduction. What is the traditional view of organizational conflict? All of you know, I told you earlier, that's the age mean the year period, early 40s, after 30s. That means 1930, between 1930 to 1940. That means this concept identified that period. Just you keep it that the period mean the duration have so organizationals use that won't mean organizations use this concept. Sometimes they don't know this is a traditional concept, but that period, that era, they are using this method to conflict solving in organizations. So the systematical some methods. Now you know that the traditional, that mean we are calling traditional mean that earlier stage, last 2 or 3 decades ago, like that. But thing is, at that time, they are using this all concept and the administrative methods for their own or protect their own properties and their status. That's the main thing. This is out of organization behavior or out of the traditional organization conflict. The concept I explain because you have to take a correct idea about the period. That is the reason. Then you know that 30s and 40s. That mean just you think about in a Sri Lanka period that before independent, the independent our the 1948 we have a independent as of 1948. Okay, then that period you can imagine this situation to what happened in our country. Okay. Then, you know that it's a third para. Third para mean it was first developed in the late 1930 and early 1940. Okay. Now I tried to explain what is a traditional. Okay. Traditional mean, have a thinker that I think you have a bit of idea about that period in Sri Lanka. Imagine yourself what type of communications we have. Communication, I try to ask the radio, televisions, and just I ask like that, not in this slide word communication. The radio, television, film, and the telephone, handphone, landphone. That now you can understand what is that. What is the situation? What is the background of that era? Then, can you believe that things called Arachirala, Porala, Gamuladani, as some that administrative levels positions more like that type of the places, positions, jobs in that era mean period in Sri Lanka. Now you can understand how that earlier I explained using the three novel Martin Vikramasinghe's one, the Kali Yuga, Damperile Kali Yuga and Yugantha. Then think a bit how they protect their positions, their status, their beliefs, and how they treat their servants. You can imagine, but because you have I know you had an experience, bit of experience about when you are reading books and novels. I think you have that Village in the Jungle and other books, good books to try to understand that the colonial period. Anyway, now you have a bit of idea about that traditional situation in 30 to 40 period. Now, don't think about that organizational part, organizational behavior or anything. Just you think about that period in Sri Lanka. Then one by one, step by step, we have a chance to understand how they work in our inside or the organization environment. The situation is, now you know that Arachirala, Gammula, then Korale Matya, like that. Okay, that is civil agents or civil service person or civil officers, we are calling that era or that period. Then I first after that I ask you, what is a what type of communication methods going on that period? No any good communication methods or the system or the things. I think only the 30 to 40 have some the letter and some that the parallel to the we can call that courier service, but courier means the person is like a messenger. It's a developing that things are going on. So the new decades, the new generation also using same methods, but using tool equipment for the sending message to each other. But thing is that earlier the messenger means a person who sharing or the delivering some news or things or goods, we call that person to messenger. But same situation in this era and the earlier stage or next stage also same. But at that time, we are, or the next generation people using tool as the alternative to the messenger's positions, tools, that equipment, technology. Keep it outside that things. Now, things, no any good communication methods. Then disagreement. What's the meaning of disagreement? I told you that Arachirala, Korale, Mahatya, and others are in the responsible officers to that mean correspondence, government correspondence as a civil agent or civil service officer. Then what is the meaning of a disagreement mean? Now I am the person who are in the responsible person or not a things don't keep it in your mind. I am the correspondent person to the normal, that is general people, general audience. You are I call you now, I give you this is example. I call you, you are the Arachirala or Porlemata or whatever. Now I am the person who come to meet you, the Arachirala. I have this matters in my my people mean my family members or the family, like that nuclear family and other one. Then have some the family problems and some family matters and your village matters problems you are delivered to, or you are tell the Arachirala that you are the Arachirala and Korle Madhya. You listening there. But sometimes directly you have a chance, you have enough power to send this message to the government ruling or the hierarchy people. But thing is that Arachirala and Korlemata can control this people behavior. That means people behavior think that a village have some problem. Sometimes water, sometimes no good to the changing another to have no any good roads, no any bridge like that, good bridge, but like a big one, small one. Then sometimes any transport facilities. They ask, can you provide? Can you tell the government officers we need some one bus per day? I'm discussing in the 30s, 30s to 40s. At least one bus the morning and evening, because we have our village have now many the government officers. They need to go to the town to start join their officers to the correct time, but we don't have any transport facilities. Kindly tell this issue for the government officers. Officers mean ruling, that mean administrative part. But disagreement mean, but when you are now you are in the position in the Arachirala or the Korle, now you are in that position. You are the person who have a good transport, better than others in your village area. Things you have some horse cart like that, as the some the new the car. Then when you have that mean when the people the people have a chance to use the public transport, they have a chance to engage with the government officers. You know that earlier Arachirala and Korle Matas have a close relationship with that foreign government officers. When you are that people have the same facilities like a public transport, they have a chance to move with the government officer, like a Colombo Candian, like that. That main town at that time had this facilities or something, the transport facilities. Then Arachirala not disagreement, sorry, the disagreement with this request, because sometimes this Arachirala, the only person who have a chance to engage with that government officers, he controlling the village people behavior his way. His way mean Then government officers send some message or provide some facilities to the village people that Arachurala can control it. And he take the part of some benefit from that. Directly, at Arachurala give to this permission to request to the respect to the request and send to the government officers that Arachurala status bit of low mean bit of decrease. Then the government officers know in the outside of the village that Arachiral, the person who are handling in this case, he bargain with like this is a service that villagers need some service. They are request for service, the transport service. They are not respect to that. That mean that Arachirala never to respect, never to give a chance to the to direct and fulfill all the request. The reason is that Arachirala need to control the villagers' behavior. Then you can understand what is a disagreement. I'm not now discussing the organization behavior. Now I'm discussing the Arachirala and the villagers according to the 1930 and between 1930 to 40. Now, after that, the another one is that Arachirala, that means government officer, not working open heart. That means no any transparency. Now the villagers and the village people request something. He tried to control the villagers or the village people, and that Arachirala tried to control their request. That because of, I told you that Arachirala, when he directly sent this request to the government officers, his status bit of decrease. Then third one is, now you can understand this, you don't know better than any connection with the government officers. You are only you know, or that the officers, that mean villagers, only they are respondent, the person is Archira. Then now you don't have any connection with government officers. Now this is some flow, that mean administrative or the administrative power flow. First one is a government officer. Second one is a Arachirala, that is a correspondent government officers, government correspondent. The position is Arachi. The other one is a grassroots level village people. Now you can understand three things. Now you don't have any connection with government officer or the government. Then you can understand is Arachirala's service is not transparent. But thing is, whatever situation, you have to trust this individual person. Because no any correspondent, no any government officer in your village. Then you can understand this administrative or the management flow always fail. Always fail. What are the black hits? What are the wrong points? Because that individual person, the Arachirala, never protect, I'm not using never. He is not act. Is the feedback part. What is the feedback part? Arachirala is the person, the Arachirala is one person, one and only person to work to the government. He is a one and only government officer in a village area. As well as he is a person who has to correspond or the some deliver the village problem to the government. The two-way system. One thing is government have some message. Arachirala must have to send that message to village people. As well as other side, the second two-way things. Other side, the village problems. He have to identify village problems as well as Arachirala has to send to the government officer that issues and service and requests and problems, everything. But thing is this managerial position or the administrative positions not work well in the 1930s and 40s. But don't think about we don't know anything in organization in Sri Lanka 30s to 40s. Now you have now the clear picture about Arachirala, government and villages. Now you know what is the clear picture in that era or the period. Then now one by one we put this concept, the example to our topic. One thing is a traditional way. Now you understood what is a traditional administrative or the managerial part. Things that you identify that era or the period. Now, easily, I told you the earlier first point. Now you can put the blank. Now you have to only fill the blank with that exam from that exam. Right? You can understand. Now, imagine yourself. Now, kindly come with me to the other subject, traditional view of organizational conflict. Now you can understand at this concept, at that period, or the traditional view, the poor identifies the poor communication. When the organizational has some conflict, at that time, there's a poor communication because they think, or that period, they are always think their own traditional status and not only move or open their eyes for the organizational officers, that mean a labor part. That mean poor communication. I like to add another word. Sometimes some people never like to talk with the Arachiral, with communicates with these matters, some any other problems. What are the problems in a village? It must be how to control or the complete from the government. At that time, the government, the village people never, and they don't like to tell this situation and problem to the Arachirala sometime because there is an unless, that useless thing. The second one is, I told you, the disagreement in a conflict. The organizational behavior have a conflict at that time. The managerial positions people always disagreement. Then they are not discussed and they are not to give a chance to the labor side or the conflict side, the employer's side. As well as I told you that Arachirala is never transparent, that Arachirala's work is never transparency. The duties are never transparent. Same situation in that organization. That's the conflict time, there are situations. Also, lack of purpose. Then the final one, why this going on, why this a matter, why this a situation, what is the root of this situation? Because of the arachiralas, that a managers position, the managers role failure. Same situation in a organization, managers failure to managers to be responsive to their employers. That means arachirala never. That means I can't use that word. Never arachirala is a not. I told you he's a not act like the villagers correspondent to the thing. Now you can understand this main case, how this concept, how this the traditional view of organization conflict going on. Okay, then I give you a chance, I give you another chance to the listening this slides, as well as I give you the time to write down. I to you to start in the traditional view on organization conflict is earliest of the time. Okay, here to time to listening as well as you can write down.
The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the trio. It was first developed in the late 1930s and early 1940s, with the most linear and simple approach towards conflict. According to the traditional view, any conflict in an organization is outright bad, negative, and harmful. Although conflicts are of different types, the traditional view only sees conflict as dysfunctional and destructive. It suggests that organizational conflict must be avoided by identifying the malfunctioning callus. Moreover, the traditional view on organizational conflict identifies poor communication, disagreement, lack of openness and trust among individuals, and the failure of managers to be responsive to their employees' needs as the main causes and reasons of organizational conflict.
Okay, I like to add another few lines. That mean I need to add some small introduction here. The traditional view only sees conflict as a dysfunctional and destructive. I think is not necessary to explain that's a two word. Earlier we discussed that what is the meaning of that, but you keep it to mind that the two word in a traditional view of organizational conflict. Now, I think I like to move the next slide. Here, this one, after that we have a new one. But thing is, the traditional view is an early approach to conflict, which assumed that all conflict was bad and to be avoided. Before I give you a chance to the listening this one, I like to add that part in the earlier one. Think that 30 to 40, between 30 to 40 era, when any conflict in our society, that means our Sri Lankan society, whatever conflict, the family conflict, the village, or the government, or parties, or anything, they call it's a bad thing. It's a not to be. Okay. That means when the employers have any union strike or whatever, they call it a bad thing. No, it's like a violence, destructions. That's like it is the person who are created that situation in an organization. Now that a period in an organizational view that is the bad behavior, misbehavior. He is a person who will create the violence in an organization, the environment. That's mean. Dysfunctional, it's a thing, this poor communication I told you. That's the main point is the managerial poor communication because you now already studied that point, the manager's role. Now, this conflict root is a manager poor communication and dismanagement. Dismanagement mean the wrong controlling environment or the organization. Is not to do or not act managerial role. That means he is always out of manager's responsibility. That is a thing. But that period and this concept try to always exhibit or the broadcast when person who are creating a conflict or some group try to create in a conflict in a organization, it is a very bad behavior. Okay, now you can understand like a school, like a classroom. Think a bit. Now I'll give you one example, Arachirala and village. I give you another example for the school classroom. This add for this example, add for this slide, 7 slide. Okay. But thing is, you can move. Can you move to the? I show you 1 second. Here the point. I try to take it. 1 second. Sorry. Uh, 1 second. Right here. Here the point I give you, I try to explain the school classroom. Yeah. You keep it in your mind, this one, within, okay. Here, the view that all conflict is a negative certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create a conflict. Positive, negative. All conflict is a negative certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create a conflict. Now you can understand that while a teacher doing his lecture or the lesson, the one boy who is try to do in some bad, that means negative things, at that time, the negative thing is the misbehavior, bad behavior. He's a person, the people who create, the student who create conflict to lesson to organization behavior, to lesson in a classroom, to create in a organization behavior. Now you can understand that. I erase this one. Sorry. Erase is coming with me. Okay. 1 second. Right. Then I give you a chance to listen again. You have to listen carefully. Then First, I give you a chance to the listening and write down your note while the robotic narration, as well as at the same time, you have to apply the second example, the school classroom example for this concept or this slide. Then try to understand parallelly example and organization behavior. I told you this whole conflict root is a manager's failure. Why this manager's failure? And that manager never take or is a responsibility, but he will control this conflict or the organization conflict. I always try to pass a ball to the employer sides. But thing is, finally, this thing is this that the manager can't control this situation, that employers need to take action or raise his arm to this managerial the failure. He has to face an individual. After that era or the period, now that the one by one employer not to raise their hand or to create their problems, not like an individual problem. They are ready to their raise hands with group. We will discuss later. First, you listen this and comparing two examples together. And finally, I give you another chance to read the earlier slide and this slide both. At that time, I mentioned that, between after this narration, you put first example in the Arachiral and villager example in the first slide, this slide for classroom exam. Right. First one, you have to listen and listen this one and write down and finally take idea, the example, classroom example and organizational conflict, but keep it a topic, the traditional view. Okay, this is your time.
Lack of openness and trust among individuals and the failure of managers to be responsive to their. The traditional view is the early approach to conflict, which assumed that all conflict was bad and to be avoided. The conflict was treated negatively and discussed with such terms as violence, destruction, and irrationality to reinforce its negative implication. The conflict was a dysfunctional outcome, resulting from poor communication, lack of transparency and trust between people, and the failure of managers to be responsive to the necessities and aspirations of their employees. The view that all conflict is negative certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create conflict. We simply need to direct our attention to the causes of conflict, analyzing them and take measures to correct those malfunctions for the benefit of the group and organizational performance. The traditional view of conflict fell out of favor for a long time as scholars and academics came to realize that in some circumstances a conflict was inescapable. From the late 19th.
Okay. Now, I give you a chance to listen earlier one and a second one together. Then keep it in your mind and double check your note as well as comparing your example and our concept. After that, we have to start the new topic here, human relation, view of organizational conflict. Okay, this is your time. Double check your note as well as comparing your example. Compare the both. First one, this one is our Chirala's example. Second one is a classroom example. This is your time.
From the late
Sorry.
1940s. The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the trio. It was first developed in the late 1930s and early 1940s, with the most linear and simple approach towards conflict. According to the traditional view, any conflict in an organization is outright bad, negative, and harmful. Although conflicts are of different types, the traditional view only sees conflict as dysfunctional and destructive. It suggests that organizational conflict must be avoided by identifying the malfunctioning callus. Moreover, the traditional view on organizational conflict identifies poor communication, disagreement, lack of openness and trust among individuals, and the failure of managers to be responsive to their employees' needs as the main causes and reasons of organizational conflict. The traditional view is the early approach to conflict, which assumed that all conflict was bad and to be avoided. The conflict was treated negatively and discussed with such terms as violence, destruction, and irrationality to reinforce its negative implication. The conflict was a dysfunctional outcome, resulting from poor communication, lack of transparency and trust between people, and the failure of managers to be responsive to the necessities and aspirations of their employees. The view that all conflict is negative certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create conflict. We simply need to direct our attention to the causes of conflict, analyzing them and take measures to correct those malfunctions for the benefit of the group and organizational performance. The traditional view of conflict fell out of favor for a long time as scholars and academics came to realize that in some circumstances a conflict was inescapable.
Okay, now we can start our next topic, human relation view of organization conflict. I think sound is okay. I think so. But thing is that earlier we discussed the traditional view of organizational conflict. Now you can understand these two methods. What are the differences of these two methods? Because of the human relation and the traditional one. Okay. Now, before we start this lesson, you can imagine yourself, the common word, imagine yourself, then you can understand human relation. You know that our subject is organization behavior. It's never So not any argument that. Then now we are in the organizational conflict. Our subtopic, main subject is organizational behavior, and this is a organizational conflict. But the end of this lesson, and that means ultimately, that finally we have to identify how to solve this conflict. First, we try to understand methods and history of the organizational conflict. Then, after that, you have to take idea and you have to study what are the flow of this conflict. Why this conflict open or create in a organizational environment? Then you can understand what are the steps, what are the flow. Finally, then you have to, I told you the earlier, you are in a superior or the managerial level post, that means executive post, then you have to identify how to solve, how to clear, how to control this conflict in your organization. Now, our second topic, the human relation view of organizational conflict. I think first you listen, first time. Then while you are listening, you can write down. Then the second time I give you a chance to write down. Then you have to take idea about what is the meaning of this slide. Then ultimately, finally, I explain what is the human relation view of organizational conflict. I think you have this sometimes the video materials also, that mean video tutorial you have. Many times you can listen and you can use through our LPEC website or the LPEC video gallery. Then you can take that additional factors. You can add your personal knowledge, for your exam purposes. Okay, now I'll give you time to listen this one.
From the late 1940s to the mid-70s, the human relations view dominated the topic of organizational conflict. In that period, the fields of management and organizational behavior were expanding. The traditional view was challenged by various studies and surveys, and therefore, the human relations view on organizational conflict presented a significantly different perspective on the topic. The human relations view on organizational conflict primarily teaches us to accept conflict. It identifies conflict as an important aspect of any organization, which simply cannot be more important. Unlike the traditional view, the human relations view does not discard conflict as an outright negative and destructive thing. Instead, it says that an organizational conflict may be beneficial for the individuals, groups, and the organization in general. Moreover, this perspective even suggests that organizational conflicts within groups may even. The human relations view of conflict treats conflict as a natural and inevitable phenomenon and, so can't be eliminated from any organization. Here, the conflict was seen in a positive light, as it was suggested that conflict may lead to an improvement in a group's performance. but it is similar to the interactionist view of the conflict. From the late 1940s to the mid-70s, the human relations view dominated the topic of organizational conflict. In that period, the fields of management and organizational behavior were expanding.
Okay, I stop. This is another one. Now that earlier we finished the traditional view started in 1930 to early 40. I think I want to bit of try to connect with each other. That is a thing. Now, okay. Then this one started. This one mean human relation. Okay. After late 40, the earlier one, 1940, earlier, that mean here, and mid 30. At that period, you can imagine yourself. The earlier one I gave you the one example that Arachirala, Korale, Mahatya, and etc. And the Sri Lankan period. Now you can understand that 1940, late 1940, after and before 30, mid 30. Now you can understand. Okay. Now I try to give this. I try to before I explain this slide. I try to add some example, and I like to go through that, and I give you some more information, more idea about this topic. You know that in 19 after 40, we are reached to our independent that our country independent situation, independent government, independent country like that. At that time, you know that some organizations, you know that Jatika Vyapara, sometimes you never heard this type of things. And some various newspapers raise their hand for that rural kingdom. That means we are calling that London our ruling government, because we are under the colonial people. Then they used to take their revolutions, or we can call any strike like that. This duration is at some more group combinations, teamwork. Okay, that you know that Anagarika Dharmapala, Migettuatte Gunananda, various monks and the honorable people gather, people are collected like a group, and they try to take our freedom. That means late 40s. That means end of the 40s. At that time, that the group works, okay? The group works. A group power, very important and very special event in that era, that period. That means earlier we discussed that the traditional methods. Now think like government, like organization, but this is not a correct explain. Think government like an organization. That means United Kingdom government. Keep it in your mind that we are not. I'm not using the political glossary. That London or the Queen or whatever. That the government think that organization. That organization. Now the Sri Lankans are organization officers or the employers. Think like that. Now, in the between a late 40 to end of the 40 had some conflict. Okay, imagine yourself, you can understand this, visualizing your mind. Then that Sri Lankan people, that is a government, ruling government in London, we are in that organization. It was, or it had a conflict. We need our independence, freedom. Then that mean this period, you can understand that earlier we are that our village or some the rural areas no any organizational concept, no any management concept. Now the leaders are joined with the national leaders are join this situation like that union leaders. Then that organizational conflict, organizational subject, or the organizational situation expand this period. You can understand. Okay. Then they are trying to manage their behaviors also. Using some communications methods, using some good relationships. That means the earlier we discussed, I think you remember earlier, no any communications, good communication in between organizations. Now you can understand this late 40s, have a good community. I told you that the newspapers, using their newspapers for their union actions, for their, they take their human rights and show their powers using for communication methods. That means medias, especially. Then, but thing is, this is the main point or the foundation of human relation subject and a foundation of organizational conflict. Now, don't struggle with this example. I told you that we got the point that United Kingdom, that the Queen is an organization. The Sri Lankan people are organizational officers or employers. Now it has a conflict. Why they need their free country, not like a small thing. But that's the time. This is the first time, primary time, organizational conflict starting in this situation. Because earlier, you know that we had some various that that in a European people with have some battle also, but it is a different one. So like using some weapons, like that, like a war. This is not like a war. This is an organizational conflict through that revolution or the strike or whatever method. So they need to win their idea or the situation. Situation we call like that. Then this time identified conflict as an important aspect of the any organization. In this situation, that the government, that the London, that means Queen, has to take the real answer for that. Sometimes this is not like the traditional view that the ruler, that mean the rule, that mean a government can't take a simple action like the traditional view, not like a traditional view. There is a human relation. This is a group work, and that government, that mean earl, that mean the queen. Sometimes it is a not any the individual benefit, but it is a good benefit for organization. You can understand what I tried to say. This is the thing. This is a group work. Sometimes this benefits not for individual one. It's this benefit for group or the whole organization. That means in the between 40, this conflict benefit for our nation. Now you can now we are we are in a correct time. The final outcome, the final outcome, profit. We are not calling profit. We calling the credits. Credits move to going to group performance. Now you can understand now this example at your human relation view of organizational conflict. You can understand this thing. Thing is, I told you that queen is the hierarchy seated this organization, that the government, that 1940 to 1948, that the Sri Lankan people have a conflict to fight their freedom, independence. They are that the Sri Lankans are organizational officers, employers. They have a good group power, have a good combination, good communication. But this action, this conflict outcome, not one person, is a profits. It's a credits going to the group performance. Now, I told you, you can add this example to your organizational behavior, human relation view topic. You can understand within a few seconds without moving the next slides. You can understand what is the meaning this. Now, I give you another chance to listen and listen carefully and try to take an idea about this two slide and keep it your mind my example and check your write down note also. But anyway, this is parallelly my example and this slide. You have to study while this slides narration going on in time. Okay, I'll move that.
From the late 1940s to the mid-70s, the human relations view dominated the topic of organizational conflict. In that period, the fields of management and organizational behavior were expanding. The traditional view was challenged by various studies and surveys, and therefore, the human relations view on organizational conflict presented a significantly different perspective on the topic. The human relations view on organizational conflict primarily teaches us to accept conflict. It identifies conflict as an important aspect of any organization, which simply cannot be more important. Unlike the traditional view, the human relations view does not discard conflict as an outright negative and destructive thing. Instead, it says that an organizational conflict may be beneficial for the individuals, groups, and the organization in general. Moreover, this perspective even suggests that organizational conflicts within groups may even. The human relations view of conflict treats conflict as a natural and inevitable phenomenon and, so can't be eliminated from any organization. Here, the conflict was seen in a positive light as it was suggested that conflict may lead to an improvement in a group's performance. But it is similar to the interactionist view of the conflict. From the late 1940s.
Okay. Now, we have a second slide here. Move your attention this one.
Here, the conflict was seen in a positive light as it was suggested that conflict may lead to an improvement in a group's performance. But it is similar to the interactionist view of the conflict. From the late 1940s.
Okay. Now you can, this is the thing. No one can't, that mean in my example, that anyone, that some conflict in a organization or that the organizational environment, anyone can't neglect or without taking correct action, that the ruling people or the organizational management can't work with, because it has the conflict. It's some of the wrong point of organization. When it is organizational, is already clear, good, correct. Never, you can't never see any conflict. When it has any bad point, the black kids or anything, we are calling black kids mean the good place have some small black part, we are calling black kids. It's like an idiom. Then that is a reason to create or put up some conflict in that environment. You know that in some silent place, quickly or instantly have any other sound, this silent place has a noise. It's a conflict. Why it is started? Then that ruling people or the management level or the hierarchy, that means organization, they has to take a decision for this conflict. But thing is, when you are, that means you are in a superior seat, you are in the hierarchy seat, when you are solve this conflict, I told you this is a good combination, the group performance, improvement in a group performance. When you are clear this conflict, solve this problem in a human relation, under the human relation concept, okay, the conflict topic. When you are solve this question or the problem, in the other hand, you keep it your mind, your organizational, the group, your company team has good group performance. To conflict also same, and keep it your mind and your service or duty also, they are work like that, same situation. The conflict time, they are show their group performance as well as your group work. That means your office work. Definitely, when you are solve the conflict, definitely they are show their group performance, your organizational work also. That means, the earlier I told you, that is a reason any hierarchy or ruling people or government, when they are solve this case, and on the other hand, they have a good benefit. Because this group has a perform their profit or something, that is a reason, the freedom or the independent, whatever they got that. After that, they work very happily. They give their full performance to the task that the reach the organizational year task. That means aim. Then in this human relation conflict, you can understand this is like a group work, not like a earlier one. Sometimes this organization, I told you that there is a group performance as well as some benefit for the individual one. But sometimes that individual group and whole people have some performance or some improvement through this that concept. Now, I like to discuss with another few minutes with you the earlier one and this one before I move to the interactionist view of organizational concept point. Because thing is, sorry, I move to the earlier one because I need to this one is this view of organizational conflicts are far different of the human relations and traditional one. That is the reason I try to compare with the earlier one and this one again. But I give you chance because you have to that accelerate, not accelerate. You have to recharge your mind for these two topics. Then I give you a chance to listen again that traditional view and organizational, traditional view and organizational conflicts two topic. Then take a bit of time and we try to compare with this two topic. Then you can understand what is the differences of these two concept or the methods. Okay. I give you a chance to listen both one again. While this narration going on, you can check your notes also. And I think a bit of slowly today going because the history part, bit of take time and clear that part. Then we can quickly use other topics because we have a flow. I told you some summary of our syllabus. Then when you are touched this the foundation of the organizational conflict, then you can move quickly other parts. Okay, then yeah, listen.
The traditional view on organizational conflict is the earliest of the trio. It was first developed in the late 1930s and early 1940s. with the most linear and simple approach towards conflict. According to the traditional view, any conflict in an organization is outright bad, negative, and harmful. Although conflicts are of different types, the traditional view only sees conflict as dysfunctional and destructive. It suggests that organizational conflict must be avoided by identifying the malfunctioning callus. Moreover, the traditional view on organizational conflict identifies poor communication, disagreement, lack of openness and trust among individuals, and the failure of managers to be responsive to their employees' needs as the main causes and reasons of organizational conflict. The traditional view is the early approach to conflict, which assumed that all conflict was bad and to be avoided. The conflict was treated negatively and discussed with such terms as violence, destruction, and irrationality to reinforce its negative implication. The conflict was a dysfunctional outcome, resulting from poor communication, lack of transparency and trust between people, and the failure of managers to be responsive to the necessities and aspirations of their employees. The view that all conflict is negative certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create conflict. We simply need to direct our attention to the causes of conflict, analyzing them and take measures to correct those malfunctions for the benefit of the group and organizational performance. The traditional view of conflict fell out of favor for a long time as scholars and academics came to realize that in some circumstances a conflict was inescapable. From the late 1940s to the mid-70s, the human relations view dominated the topic of organizational conflict. In that period, the fields of management and organizational behavior were expanding. The traditional view was challenged by various studies and surveys, and therefore, the human relations view on organizational conflict presented a significantly different perspective on the topic. The human relations view on organizational conflict primarily teaches us to accept conflict. It identifies conflict as an important aspect of any organization, which simply cannot be more important. Unlike the traditional view, the human relations view does not discard conflict as an outright negative and destructive thing. Instead, it says that an organizational conflict may be beneficial for the individuals, groups, and the organization in general. Moreover, this perspective even suggests that organizational conflicts within groups may even. The human relations view of conflict treats conflict as a natural and inevitable phenomenon and, so can't be eliminated from any organization. Here, the conflict was seen in a positive light as it was suggested that conflict may lead to an improvement in a group's performance. But it is similar to the interactionist view of the conflict. From the late 1940s to the mid-70s, the human
Okay, now we can compare with each other. Now you can understand this correct idea about that, this both topic, these two topics, these 2 points. First thing, I move and show you slide please, so then you can understand very easily these differences of this two topic. The main thing is, you know, that here, the traditional one, this one here, I like to use the pen. 1 second. I think this one is okay. Yeah, here. Here, moreover, organization conflict identified poor communication. Here, communication, disagreement, lack of openness, and trust among individuals, and the failure to manage to responsive to their employers. Now, in comparing these two concepts, you can understand correct. Now you can, I told you that's my word, imagine yourself earlier 40s, earlier 30s, that means late 30s and earlier 40s. You can understand now the real situation, how it's going on. Okay, the first point. Then I told you that the poor communication and the human relation topic, I told you this, the after 40s, 40s or 70s. You know that our Sri Lankan people use good communication skills and media, not like a media, is a communication skills. That earlier I told that the media word is not the correct and is not a useful word for this thing, because in the media mean another part. Good communication and disagreement. That earlier, that traditional period, traditional the 30 to 40. That means the disagreement mean always, I told you, always, they are not, they are sometimes that organizational, I told you that officers or the employers, always the respect its owners, that mean our proprietors or whatever, the person who handle that organization or the ruling places, they are always a respect. They are the words and behavior also. They are never take action. They are never create a conflict in that organization, that the period. That means they know any agreement, always agreement when it has it had some agreement, whatever it had it, but the outcome is the best part. That means when it had some agreement, is a 25 for the service part, that means a labor part, 75. 75 for 75 for the master part. And the third one, lack of funds. I told you that word, the transparency. When they got some decision to any conflict in organization, it had some undercurrent to it. We are calling that in our general using have the double meaning words. You like that? That like in a go that in a organization also they done some or they solves any conflict. It has a secret part. Okay, I told you that Dara Chirala and Corle Mahat, I told you that their behavior. Now, thing is, I told you this again, I'm not to repeat again. This is the thing is, main point is the failure of managers. Now I like to move that again. We have to compare. No, we have to compare with that, the new one, the human relation one. Now I erase this one, and I like to move one by one. 1 second to this one, because I think we have finished many topics now. We have other 2 or 3 or 5 topics to to finish our whole syllabus. I think the political group work, like small things we have. Then this one also have, right? Keep it out of mind. Your thing. This is a type function outcome. Okay. This is a we are calling the type functional outcome. That mean in a traditional view, I want to explain a bit of that, because earlier we discussed this is a type functional word, but this time that word is used to the bit of a give to the different idea. But anyway, thing is this this difunctional thing is when that final outcome of the conflict, it has a bad outcome. Thing is, earlier I told you, we discussed the poor communication. That means dysfunctional outcome mean a bad outcome. Just you keep it in mind. Why we face this bad outcome? Because results of poor communication, lack of transparency, trust between people. This is a main failure of the manager. Now you can understand after 40s. Now I jump to the move to the our next one. The human relation view. This time, okay, the late 40s and mid 70s, that means 60, 35 to 40 to 35. There's a thing that I introduced an example, or I add some example. Our country and the United Kingdom ruling people, the Queen, because thing. Okay, anyway, at that time, that our Sri Lankan people, that mean my example, okay, they have good communication skills. They have some good communication using methods and sharing their communication with ruling people as well as their group. Then that earlier the human relation view on organization conflict presented a significantly different perspective on the topic. That you can understand this under this concept. Yeah, when they have some idea or the conflict, that organizational, that mean a hierarchy, the management level, that it mean they has to identify what is this topic and what is the meaning of this topic perspective. That means expectations. First is the in a organization has some conflict. why they are presented this type of conflict, why they are create this type of conflict. On the other hand, what is the meaning of, what is the perspective of this topic? This is a primary level of the organizational conflict subject topic. It's a human relations. So now you know that you are in a familiar in this subject. You know that what are the human relations subject core subjects. What are the related subject? You know there are so many subjects are engaged with this human relation subject. I'm not try to explain this one. Under the human relation subject, the organization concept started, or the beginning, the foundation, fundamental, like that. I'm not using that word. The primary concept. It's a conflict. But I told you, now the traditional view moved to the human relation view. At that time, the organization, that conflict started, created with like a group behavior, like a group action, like a union action, like that. Then its topic has great perspective, different perspective, because that is a reason they have conflict in our organization, not like a traditional view. Then it a different identify conflict as an important aspect of any organization with simply cannot be more important. Unlike the traditional view, the human relations view does not discard conflict as an outright negative and destructive thing. Now you can understand the human relations view does not discard conflict as an outright negative and destructive thing. You can understand why this conflict. It identifies conflict as an important aspect of any organization. Under the human relations view, you keep it in your mind, conflict as an important aspect of the any organization. I told you earlier, when you are organization, that means you are in a hierarchy seat. When you are in a organization, when you have any conflict in organization, it is your organizational bad point. The black kids are wrong place, wrong work, wrong service outcome. What is the reason this conflict started in organization? That is the reason different perspective on the topic. Now you are in a correct point. Finally, I like to explain and I like to read it here. Before that, moreover, this perspective even suggests that organizational conflict within a group may even lead to better group performance and outcome. Again and again, I told you, I like to tell you. This perspective even suggests that organization conflict within a group. This conflict in a group may even lead to better group performance and outcome. The conflict, when your organization have any conflict, this is better group performance and outcome. Okay, then next slide. That earlier one, I remember that traditional view, you can understand poor communication, not any good transparency, no any other good suggestions, no any disagreement. That means a disagreement. But this time that a human relations view of conflict treats conflict as a natural and inventable phenomena and so cannot be eliminated from any organization. Here, the conflict was seen in a positive light as it was suggested that conflict may lead to an improvement in group performance. But it is similar to the interaction view of conflict. Interaction view of conflict. Interaction view of conflict. Now, our next topic is interactionist view of organization. Here, the word I like to explain here.
But it is similar to the interactionist view of the conflict.
Okay.
From
the next one, interaction. Okay. Now, our next one. But thing is, our point is we are comparing traditional one and human relations, two topic. Now you have a good idea about this. Keep it to your mind my example. Earlier one, Arachirala and classroom. This one, our Jatika Vyapara, that's been called that our independent period, 42 mid-70s, how our government, not a government, the rural, that United Kingdom ruling period, how our people behavior. I create a new environment at like the organization. The ruling people are like a hierarchy in organization. Our part, country people and union leaders like organization officers. This is two example. Keep it to mind for the two topic. Then within quickly, when you touch that type of question in a traditional view, Arachirala and classroom, and a human relation in a independent era or the independent period of a country behavior. Keep it to your mind that within quickly you can understand how what type of the organization structure in a that period or environment, and you have to put your subject matters inside mean that body, then you can take an idea about that academic idea. You can take a correct idea about that. Okay, before I think before I move to the next one, I think not necessary to give you the more narration part, because I think you have enough time to the double check your writing part. I think not necessary to the again use this narration one to the check your notes. Anyway, before move your next topic, give me a 1 second. I think yeah, okay, 1 minute. I tried to give you the new thing for you. Give me a 1 minute for that. Before that, okay. Okay. Now shall we move to the next slobby? That one. Next topic. Sorry for misspell. That thing is now you have already finished your three topics. Then while you are listening this third one, third topic, then you have to comparing the earlier two topics and two concept and this one. I think this one is like only another one slide. We have only another, I think, 20 minutes more. But finish this two slide. I add some another video, functional and dysfunctional concept. It's also that concept also engage with this one, the conflict topic. But after that, I finish this today lesson. But I want to say another one because thing is here another two slides after this one. I'm not discussing that point because this is you can understand when this is a topic. This is your homework. Go through that. I'll send you through the LPEC this notes also. Then you can time to listen this narration and you can write down your notes. After that, I'll explain. After explain, I give another chance to listen this narration for check your notes and the sentence, whatever things you missing parts. Then I add the video. After that, you can take a rest. Okay, take a rest. Mean you have to read the next lesson. Okay.
Interactionist view of organizational conflict. With passing time and further studies in the field of organizational behavior, people started to accept conflict as an integral and somewhat positive aspect. The interactionist view on organizational conflict extends that concept. While the human relations view accepted organizational conflict as an important part, the interactionist view on organizational conflict takes the same concept one step further. It suggests that an ongoing, minimum level of conflict is necessary and beneficial for a group. In the interactionist view, an organization or group with no conflict is more likely to become static, non-responsive, inflexible and inadaptable. It states that a minimum level of conflict is beneficial for the group because it maintains a certain level of creativity, self-evaluation, and competition among the individuals. All these things result in increased group performance, more creative solutions to problems and better outcomes. We should mind it that even the interactionist view does not claim that every type of conflict is beneficial and healthy. Group. While the dysfunctional or destructive forms of conflict should be avoided, the interactionist view indicates that conflict is not only an encouraging force in a group but also an absolute necessity for a group to perform effectively. While the human relations view accepted conflict, The interactionist view encourages conflicts because a harmonious, peaceful, tranquil, and cooperative group is prone to becoming static, apathetic, and non-responsive to needs for change and innovation. So the major contribution of the interactionist view is encouraging group leaders to sustain an ongoing minimum level of conflict enough to keep the group viable, self-critical, and inspired. Traditional vs current views
Okay.
of
Now, before I start beginning, I like to show you the important topic, important point in this slide. Then you can, before my explain or without my definitions or explanation, you can understand this concept very easy. But I want to show you the major part here. Today I use the green one and I change the pen also here because I don't know it's not working. What happened? Yeah, here the pen. Okay, here the point. Okay, sorry. That's okay. Here, this is the thing. Okay, I highlighted I am show you that part. While human relations view accepted conflict, the interactionist view encourages conflict because harmonious, peaceful, tranquil, cooperative group to become static, pathetic, and a non-responsive to need for change in innovation. Now you can understand the differences of the human relation view and this one. Then I show you another part that encourage that this concept. The main point is they are encourage conflict because of harmony. But keep it in your mind, I show you the thing is, 1 second, sorry, here I have to move. Okay, now point is here, the thing is this encouraged thing, especially you have to keep it to your mind. Here the point, this concept encourage, but it's a depend on dysfunctional or destructive form. Okay. That clearly states that only the functional and constructive form of conflict help the group, while the dysfunctional or destructive forms of conflict should be avoided. Now you can understand this concept. No any doubt. This concept have any organizational concept in a conflict in organization, they are encouraged, but it must be useful, it must be helpful to the organization as well as officers or as the the labels or whatever. So depend on destructive and constructive, or the dysfunctional or function. This is a point what I want to show you. Now you can understand when I give you another chance to the reader that listen this narration, then you can understand okay, take whole idea about this topic or the concept. Now this one is the very easy, because the thing is this thing I'm not to try to start a beginning to end. I try to take out try to highlight it, and I highlighted it, and I try to highlight the main point of this concept, because now you can understand. Thing is, the main point, the state of the minimum level of conflict is beneficial for the group, because it maintains a certain level of creativity, self-evaluation, and competition among the individuals. All these things result in increased group performance, more creative solution to problem, and better outcomes. We should mind it that even the interactionist view does not claim that every type of conflict. Again, I mentioned this part here. 1 second. Because thing is, this view does not claim that every type of conflict is beneficial and healthy. Here the point I have to read. Okay, I use this one. No. Okay, 1 second. Here the other party earlier I mentioned here. Sorry.
Traditional vs. current views of conflict. The traditional view of organizational conflict.
This is the point.
Current view of organizational conflict. All these things result in
take idea about
group
this last two lines.
More creative solutions to problems and better outcomes. We should mind it that even the interactionist view does not claim that every type of conflict is beneficial and healthy. Group. While the dysfunctional or destructive forms of conflict.
Sorry, this is out of the sliding area. Anyway, the clear earlier I told you, I show you this two sentence. Now you can understand this the concept. Now I comparing the three things. Three things mean three concept. First one is the what? Traditional human relation and interactions. Okay. Now you have a time to comparing these three things, but I think we don't have enough time to comparing this again these three topics. Then I promise you I add another one video end of this today lesson. After that, automatically finish this lesson. Then I have to say, all of you have a bright future, and keep it in your mind. Use this all things. All things mean all concept and all theories. Okay, all theories. I think some blinking in my specs. I move out. Then use this your day-to-day life and take experience. I'm not to try to tell you have to use this concept in your day-to-day life, but I told you that the methods, when you are doing some work, and you have to add your inner side. Don't try to tell others I'm applying this concept from my organization behavior subject concept. You apply that and take idea and as experience also, then automatically you can other side you are ready for your exam also. Other hand, this is time. And practically this is practical subjects, the professional diploma as a professional. Then while you are using that, you automatically you can control your behavior also, and you can control organizational behavior also. Okay, then I stop today lesson. Keep it in mind, end of this lesson have another video, and then all of you have a bright future. Okay, I stop this lesson now. Okay, bye.
This short video will review how we can go about determining if a conflict system is primarily destructive or dysfunctional, or constructive or functional. Conflict isn't inherently good or bad. It's just something that happens as we go about trying to live our lives and fulfill our goals in a diverse world of complex relationships, limited resources, and often unjust systems. Conflicts can generally be either destructive or constructive, often showing characteristics of both of these categories. Generally, destructive conflict results in suboptimal outcomes. That is, the conflict is resolved in a less than ideal way, even though there are other more creative and mutually satisfactory solutions that are possible. Destructive conflict also often harms relationships and is very stressful to the people involved. In contrast, constructive conflict results in the best possible outcome for the given circumstances. This doesn't mean that things end up perfectly, but rather that the outcome is as good as it could have been given the limitations of the situation. Constructive conflict also often serves to strengthen relationships, to build trust, and to help people learn about themselves and each other. At the very least, constructive conflict doesn't harm relationships or people. We've talked before about how conflict is a system characterized by feedback loops. This is why we often talk about conflict as a growing spiral. As the parties interact, their behaviors and perceptions are reinforced. A destructive conflict spiral often starts off with some kind of a conflict issue, which then leads to frustration. This is perfectly normal. What makes a conflict destructive is if the actions taken by the parties are harmful in some way. Harmful actions are often met with reactions, which create cycles of revenge. This results in changed attitudes and relationships. As these feedback loops reinforce each other, the conflict may spiral out of control, taking on a life of its own. In these situations, you may actually have a meta-conflict, or in some cases you might use the term intractable conflict. In these situations, the parties are more concerned about addressing how they are being treated, rather than addressing the issue that actually started the conflict in the first place. Constructive conflict cycles actually start off the same way, with an issue and frustration. However, the actions of the parties are less harmful, resulting in improved communication, creativity, improved attitudes and relationships, and ideally, new goals and solutions that satisfy everyone. As with destructive conflict, these cycles of creativity and dialogue serve as reinforcing feedback loops, creating a constructive conflict spiral. As conflict workers, our job is to try to make sure conflicts start off in a way that is constructive. As well, we try to work with destructive conflict, to try to find ways of intervening that will shape the way the conflict system operates. Again, we try to sort of intersect ourselves to change the way that the parties are relating to each other, to introduce alternative ways of looking at things, doing things, and to shape attitudes and relationships, to shift from revenge to other sort of forms of action, to move from frustration to satisfaction and ideally hope, and eventually to develop more constructive conflict spirals. In order to figure out how we can go about changing a conflict system, we need to get a better sense of what exactly is making the conflict destructive. To do this, we can draw upon some specific criteria. I have written information on these different criteria on Nexus and am providing a handout, so I'll just go over it quickly here. Generally, we can distinguish between the criteria for constructive conflict, or functional conflict, and destructive conflict, or dysfunctional conflict. We can decide if a conflict is characterized by integration or polarization. These two categories have to do with how the parties perceive each other. If the conflict is characterized by integration, then there's sort of a recognition of mutual concern and mutual validity. Each party will see the other party's goals as potentially valid. If conflict is very polarized, though, the parties will have a very strong us versus them sort of way of looking at things. The second main category is cooperation versus opposition. This has to do with how the parties frame the conflict overall. A cooperative approach takes kind of a problem-solving approach that sees a possibility for collaborative action. An opposition approach sees the conflict in a very sort of strict win-lose competitive framework. The terms confirmation and disconfirmation refer to the nature of the communication patterns between the parties. A conflict characterized by confirming communication would involve communication actions that recognize the value and worth of the other party. Destructive, disconfirming communication patterns suggest that the party doesn't actually respect or value, or in some cases even recognize, the other party they're in conflict with. The terms power with and power over, or coercion, these has to do with the way that power operates within the conflict, the nature of the power relationships, and how the parties are using power in the conflict. Power with would imply that the parties are seeking to work collaboratively again, and there's sort of a sense of shared power. In power over situations, there's heavy reliance upon coercion, on punishments and rewards, and in assuming positions of superiority over one party over the other. The terms de-escalation and intensification, and escalation and suppression all have to do with the general sort of processes within the conflict and the extent to which behaviors and perceptions and emotions are kind of rising and falling over time. De-escalation refers to decreasing levels of negative emotions, of negative behaviors, and negative attitudes. Escalation obviously means an intensification of these things. Parties feel more negative emotions, treat each other in more harmful ways, and have sort of more reified and negative perceptions of each other. Now, the terms intensification and suppression, they mean something a little bit different. When we're talking about intensification, we're talking about sort of this process of bringing issues out into the open so that they can be dealt with in a constructive way. Suppression means to actually suppress the conflict, to push it back under the surface, to prevent people from bringing up issues, avoiding the conflict. So, again, ideally, within a constructive conflict, you're looking to de-escalate negative behaviors, emotions, and attitudes, while at the same time very carefully intensifying certain aspects of the conflict, bringing certain aspects of the conflict out into the open. In a destructive conflict, you'll have either a suppression of particular emotion of aspects of the conflict, kind of combined with an escalation in negative attitudes, behaviors, and emotions. The terms focusing and stepping back, and drifting and spiraling, these kind of have to do with the issues that are being explored in a conflict situation. When you're dealing with a conflict constructively, sometimes you really need to just focus in on the issue at hand, to focus on a very specific conflict episode. But also sometimes you need to step back and think about kind of the relationship overall. So again, within constructive conflict processes, we kind of go back and forth, focusing in on a specific conflict issue, a very particular episode, kind of ignoring or temporarily leaving out other aspects of the relationship, but then at other times kind of stepping back and looking more generally at what's going on. So it's kind of this back and forth. Within a destructive conflict, there's a tendency for issue drift, for things that have nothing to do with the immediate conflict episode to be kind of brought in, often used as a mechanism for harming the other party, for, punishing the other party, reminding the other party of things that they've done wrong in the past. This drifting kind of also leads to increased spiraling and more escalation. So again, in constructive conflict work, we go through this focusing and stepping back in a very careful, kind of conscious way. In destructive conflict, it's not done in a very conscious way. It's more of a haphazard process where people will often bring up sort of negative things from the past just for the sake of using it as a mechanism for control or to try to harm the other party. Lastly, the terms foresight and longsight and short-sightedness have to do with kind of the temporal dimension, the time dimension related to the conflict, particularly how far into the future the conflict parties are thinking. Ideally, within constructive conflict work, you're thinking about kind of the immediate issues and immediate consequences, as well as what's going to happen kind of down the road, kind of further into the future. And you're also thinking about other parties, other people, other issues, other things that might be impacted by the way that the conflict is dealt with in the long term. Short-sightedness is characterized by a tendency to not think about those things, to be very concerned with either winning the conflict or avoiding the conflict kind of in the moment. And this obviously suppresses the conflict, which can lead to more issues further down the line. So that's the main list of criteria. Again, integration and polarization have to do with the way that the parties see each other. Cooperation and opposition have to do with the way that the parties are framing the conflict overall as sort of a cooperative thing or a win-lose framework. Confirmation and disconfirmation has to do with the communication patterns and the communication climate that characterizes the conflict and the relationship between the parties. Power with and power over has to do with the way that parties are trying to use their power and the nature of the power relationships between them. De-escalation and intensification and escalation and suppression has to do kind of with the processes of rising and decreasing tensions, bringing issues out into the open, kind of the overall processes involved in the conflict. Focusing, stepping back, and drifting and spiraling have to do with how focused or how broadly what issues are being brought into the conflict situation. And again, with this idea of, are we doing it very consciously, focusing on specific things and broadening it out, or are we kind of not in control over the way that the issues are being addressed in the conflict? And lastly, foresight and longsight and short-sightedness have to do with how far into the future the parties are thinking when they're going to actually address this conflict. To help you evaluate a conflict system, to figure out if it's largely constructive, functional, or destructive, dysfunctional, I posted a tool on Nexus. I'm calling it a polarity analysis. Why am I calling that? Well, because you have to kind of figure out where conflict sits on the continuum between functional and dysfunctional, or between destructive and constructive. To use this tool, think about the conflict and assess it based upon each of the main criteria. So you would literally go through and just put an X depending upon where you think the conflict fits. If you think a conflict is characterized by more integration than polarization, maybe you put the X about there. If you think the conflict is a little more cooperative than, a little more than based upon opposition, you could put your X there. If you think the communication is largely very based upon confirming each other, then you might put it there, and so on. You kind of go back and forth evaluating each specific criteria. Then you can kind of look at the conflict overall to consider to what extent you might place it on the continuum. Looking at where I've got all the X's placed here, I would probably stick it kind of sort of where that X is at the bottom, kind of not completely functional, but kind of further along towards the functional side of the last sort of continuum. Similarly, maybe you've got a conflict which is overall more dysfunctional. Maybe this is kind of the spread that I have of the X's out here. It's more polarized. It's more characterized by a win-lose framework. The communication is largely disconfirming. There's more coercion and escalation and drifting and short-sightedness, etc. And so overall, I would probably say this is overall a far more dysfunctional conflict. Again, I mean, these are somewhat subjective assessments, kind of based upon your own perception, your own mental model of the conflict. But the idea is to kind of give you a hint in terms of, where the conflict sits overall, and maybe to sort of identify, what are the sort of the main issues that you could kind of work with or change in order to make the conflict more constructive. To help you out, I do have this particular handout also posted on Nexus that kind of gives you a general overview of the different categories.